everybody, and welcome to Red Wings Rant, where tirades and passion pleas for your Detroit Red Wings finally have a home. I think we're just gonna remove that. There we go. Cranky old audio in the background not working. Mike, I hope you can hear a word I'm saying because it's coming in nice and clean for me.
Yeah.
I don't know why I can't push a video right now, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys are up to date on The Last of Us, but that was kind of like episode 3. A little bit when Frank was trying to play the piano, and it didn't sound very great. And now the boys are back, and now Bill's taking the keys. So glad we got the sound back.
I don't know how to play the piano, right? I'm pretty sure I don't know how to sing, although there was a time. That scene is so funny to me because clearly in episode 3, Bill and Frank are singing that Ronstadt song to each other, right?
Yeah, Linda, yeah.
I didn't think Frank did that bad, and then I was listening to the podcast later for the show, and they were like, yeah, he just did a terrible rendition. And I was like, it's really not that bad. It was fine. Like, it was way better than what I could turn in. So
or they were saying that he actually knows how to sing and play piano, so he had to pretend to not know how to sing and play piano. And I'm like, I don't know, that's probably a lot better than I could do. So hats off.
Yeah, both versions. What's his name? Is his name Michael? Is it or?
Oh, Murray Bartlett.
Murray, that's it.
Yeah,
Murray. Yeah, he's like an HBO god right now. Turns in a show-stealing performance for White Lotus.
Takes a big dump in a suitcase. Yeah.
And then, The Last of Us. One episode, in and out, perfect television.
Yeah, talking about a dump in a suitcase. Let's talk a little Red Wings power play.
Chewy's aboard. What's going on,
What's going on, Chewy?
Jim Johnson, I believe the Wings will sign Larkin, and we'll look back at the Horvat signing as where Stevie will sign him at about $8.5 million AAV. Chewy, nice background. Thank you, sir. Jim, after I saw that Horvat contract, man, was I happy we did not trade for Horvat. We're 2 weeks removed from that. We're 1 week almost. It's within the last week that Horvat got his 8 years, $8.5 million. It was Lou Lamoriello, Mike, when asked what the AAV was. I don't know if you saw that.
Lou Lamoriello, a lot bamboo.
He said when asked about how much he was paying Bo Horvat, he said it was too much money for too long, and that was his answer. So we had to wait for Elliot Friedman to get us the number, but. It was fine. Like, I know there's some people that'll poo-poo that thing. It's definitely like old man being an old man. And, when he turns around and he has to explain who signed that contract on the Islanders side, I think he's going to have, a nice little narrative to do a lot of the
I think, based on the trade offer that it took, I think there's a couple national publications that you and I both trust that, value the Red Wings prospects pretty highly. And knowing that it would have taken a top prospect and a dude and a first rounder, and knowing that the Red Wings first rounders are still pretty valuable because we're not a good team yet, and knowing that we have better prospects, I don't think Yzerman was willing to do that. I bet he was willing to, try and talk Bo into a shorter deal in the offseason, in free agency, but
right.
I don't think he was willing to give up not just one of his valued prospects. Like, Yzerman would not be willing to give up an Yzerman draft, an Yzerman drafted guy and a pick and, $8+ million a year for 8 years. That's an eternity.
I think one thing I forgot too, and it was brought up by Sean McIndoe of The Athletic, where I kept saying, like, the way that this works is you trade for Bo Horvat. It's you're gonna have 2 1Bs, right? You're gonna have Larkin and Bo Horvat as your top 6 centers. But I said Horvat needed to get paid, well underneath Larkin. Larkin needs to be the hero here, and that wouldn't have been the case. And what I forgot, and again, Sean McIndoe pointed out, down goes Brown on Twitter, some of you guys, Puck Soup, anybody, was that when you do the sign and trade, you always overspend on the guy that you traded for. It's almost like the way he explained it. One, there's just it's become routine. It's almost tradition. And two, there's the idea that
Well, you gave up
you
all
have
these
to
assets. Like, you can't just
justify
let him walk now.
you have to justify the trade.
Yeah.
And at that point, the more you pay him, you're giving value. Like you're supplying the value now to the guy that you just said was worth a first round pick. One of your more exciting prospects, and of course, a guy to fill out the roster for Vancouver. So I mean, like that's where the like he's feeding his own. He's feeding the narrative of like, no, we just traded for like an $8.5 million guy that hopefully knocks in 50 goals this year, which I think Bo got a goal on his first game with the Islanders.
He's batting 50%. He's got 1 point in 2 games.
Oh boy,
whoops. He's getting there. Yeah.
So it's already been 2 games.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like how Jim started the conversation here because we titled our episode "Detroit Red Wings Negotiations with Larkin Continue." And that's because everything that's been happening in the league is kind of surrounding, again, like if you listen to 32 Thoughts with Elliot Friedman and Jeff Merrick, what are they talking about? They're talking about Dylan Larkin. I saw Dylan Larkin was on local broadcast earlier. Sorry, Dan, I'll bring that up in a second. Didn't mean to bring up your comment. I'll show Mike in a second.
Yeah.
Local broadcast where Larkin was commenting on his lack of contract was a topic of conversation at the All-Star game in the locker room. Like, buddy, what's going on? Where's that money from Steve-O? And Larks just had to be like, I don't know. I'm the captain.
There wasn't any way that Stamkos could have walked over and be like, guys, this is how it is. Don't worry about it. It's coming, right, big fella? He'll sign it in late July, right?
Yeah, there were a couple of things too around like that Stamkos contract that I was trying to wrap my head around, and it just, the more research I did around like how much a guy like Stamkos is getting paid, and the percentage of cap he was taking up when he got that contract. I think you and I have had a conversation all year. Like, is Larkin worth the $9 million? I would not let Larkin go if it means you have to sign him for $9 million. I think the last thing you guys want as Red Wings fans is to spend the rest of Larkin's career hoping he does poorly because we let him walk. That won't be a fun way to spend it, and that $500,000 won't do it. But the more research I did, damn it all to hell, Mike, I think I was wrong in trying to interpret what Larkin was worth. But, I mean, I've heard, there's 2 sides of this conversation. There's like, what you want to say he's worth based on percentage of the entire salary, and looking at a guy like Steven Stamkos who there goes Mike, who collected as much, around what he's at, like $8.5 million right now. But that percentage of salary would kind of be similar to what Larkin would get if he was above $9 million, 9.25, definitely at 9.5. So at that point, do you want to have that conversation? Oh, Mike's back. Do you want to have that conversation of you're going to pay Dylan Larkin the same percentage of salary cap? Mike, you really didn't miss anything. You know how long-winded my explanation.
No, my audio worked for you. It was we just want to hats off to Xfinity for that great internet connection. Yeah.
Well, nobody really noticed because I just kept jibber-jabbering. But can you justify, do you think Dylan Larkin's going to put up the Steven Stamkos production? Because if you pay him the $9.5 million, 9.25 million, you're talking about the same average, the same amount of salary that Stamkos is taking from the Tampa Bay Lightning when he originally signed his contract. Does that make sense?
That'd be, listen, we're going to ask you to basically hit a brand new career high for the next, oh no, did I die again?
Yeah, but we can hear you.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on because I haven't touched anything and it keeps saying that it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's fine.
No, I mean, you'd be asking him to set career highs in all of his statistical categories for the next couple of years. Now we got to look at more Matt. Yeah, it's not really feasible. He's not going to be Stamkos. I think we've come to that conclusion, unless he has a miraculous, if you want a Detroit example, unless he becomes, JD Martinez, who completely wildly changes how he approaches offense and suddenly becomes an MVP candidate.
So right now, let's pull this up. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Dylan Larkin, at 8.5, and the cap's at 82. So at that point, he's getting more than 10%. Cap Friendly does have like the projection, I think, going up to like 92 in just a couple of years. So up to like 85 next year, then 87, and then 92. So 10% of 92 is 9.2 million, and there's numbers on here. David Krejci signing at 10.5% of the cap at 7.25 for 6 years. That was back in 2015. Kevin Hayes, a 2019 contract, 8.98% of the cap at 7.14. I did actually start this whole experiment by looking at like a guy I thought very comparable to what we could hope for Dylan Larkin, Ryan O'Reilly. I mean, definitely was not a guy who spent his whole career like chasing Hart trophies, but certainly turned in a year that was wonderful. And he signs his 7-year deal with Buffalo, taking a 10.5% cap hit for 7.5. So he signed that at 25. Things went pretty well for Ryan O'Reilly once he got out of Buffalo, who was the signing team. It's just there were, I don't know, there are some things knocking around in my head that it made it harder to justify the 9 number, but it's also a number I'm not. If that becomes like the yes or no, I'm still giving Larks the 9, but I after taking a look at this stuff, and then like I mentioned before, the Steven Stamkos stuff, I think you've really got to land around this Bo Horvat contract, and you've got to hope at if Larks is at, they set a number around 9, right, when we were talking 2 episodes ago, and Steve was around 8. Now Horvat's got a contract. You've got Barzal. Of course, we're talking 2 Islander contracts. One a little above 9, one at 8.5. Maybe a win here is 8.75. I'm wondering, but either way, that's where I think statistically you've got to land at this point.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, I mean, a win is not setting the franchise back a decade by letting him walk, and then trying to keep this thing under 10, which looks like it is going to be based on the smoke coming out from his agent. What financially what they're looking at, in the 8 to 9 range. You're still going to be like, for me, knowing how important this guy is leadership wise, community wise, defensively, offensively, face off wise, all 3 3/3 of the ice. I can't really. It's indefensible to let him walk because there is no replacement. Unless Marco Kasper becomes this unbelievable leader at the age 19. This would mean a lot of trouble for these Detroit Red Wings. You have to keep this guy.
I mean, we could. I'll say this. I'm looking at these numbers again.
Yeah.
David Krejci signed at 28, 2015, 6-year deal, took 10.5% of the cap. And again, cap friendly, kind of estimating like in a couple years we'll take a good jump to 92. 10.5% is 9.7. That's a smidge under 10. I mean, you got to think too, like these contracts have been increasing even though the salary cap has been it's been flat. But some of these conversations have got to include from the agent perspective. I'm going to sign long, but you guys know the cap's going up. So the second that cap increases past 92 million, whatever that goes into. Let's say that would be year number 4. No, 1, 2. Oh yeah, entering year number 4 of Dylan Larkin's contract. So you still got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You're now under that 10%, and it will continue to shrink as long as the league continues to grow like it did before COVID and the 15 years before that. So that's something people have to consider. You can tell yourself, Yzerman's got to get the win now to make this team make sense going forward. But I would throw out there, to kind of take away my first 10 minutes of this episode and completely throw that in the garbage after doing this math. Again, 10.5% gets you at 9.7 million, and that's just a couple years down the line. And you're going to have guys at the top of the lineup, your top line center, where right now the market is dictating that your centers are your most valuable thing. It's incredibly hard to find one in the draft, and it's incredibly hard to take one from another team. So when you've got one as good as Larkin, you got to hang on to him. And yeah, that's my final bit. I'm going back to 9. God damn it. I strayed away from it, but I just convinced myself if we did a David Krejci similar contract, same deal. And we all love Boston. We all think they're run by a bunch of geniuses. So we'll keep that. I'm keeping my 9, damn it. Screw you guys.
Can I ask you, as far as naming Boston guys, and I know the NHL is trying to get a little bit better at, spilling tea. Yeah. So it was, they tried to really push that narrative of, Larkin, kind of getting stars in his eyes, when he got to be at the All-Star game with Mitch Marner, and he's having a good time. Oh, he likes Mitch Marner. Oh, does that mean he's going to Toronto? No. Knowing that Dylan has not signed an extension yet, but by all indications, he's a fanatic of the Red Wings. He's an advocate for the Red Wings. He believes in Yzerman. Is there any way he's at these All-Star games trying to recruit people to come to Detroit? And by that, I mean the Pasta Man.
Oh, I think that ship has sailed. Boston is kicking so much ass right now. I would be.
But why would you want to stay in a winning program when you could come to one that's almost up and coming?
Yeah, there's too many like conversations going around nationally where it's like, yep, Pasta Man's gone. Sorry everybody. It's done. He was playing hard to get. He'll probably end up being one of the top paid guys in the league after this go. I think the Boston game of like keeping Marchand and I guess what is well, we were just looking at Bergeron around like 6'8". Sorry, I don't know every team's salary cap off the top of my head. But I think Pasta is going to absolutely blow up whatever, little plan they had about keeping...
Well, like...
Trying like the Nicholas Lidstrom way of managing a team. Nobody gets paid more than Lidstrom. Yeah, that's
I mean, like with Krejci and Bergeron, those are not young men. They're going to be 36 and 37, and both their contracts are up. So I just didn't know if it was a strong likelihood of the Pasta Man wanting to usher in the next era of Boston Bruin hockey, or if this was kind of like, Michael Jordan Chicago Bulls, last dance before these guys all part for greener pastures.
I mean, I'm here for that conversation. I hate that I'm hearing so much noise from the rest of the league. That's just, it's done. Pasta's signing with Boston. But I mean, to your question, maybe it's not Pasta Man, but to your question, like, is he campaigning? I think absolutely. I think they've talked about that before. Like, these guys are calling each other. And the guys who are free agents will actually call the likes of Dylan Larkin, call the captain of the team. What's going on here? How do you feel? Are you sticking around? And I think that's probably where the most honest conversations come from. Besides Moritz Seider, who I don't know if you saw in the news today with Brad Galley, completely buried Lucas Raymond and Dylan Larkin as conversationalists. Which, if we have time, we can go watch that video. So no, I think that's might be a little more trustworthy than Dylan, but
no, it's just that's the stuff that kind of gives me some concern where if we don't have Dylan signed yet, if their best player, the guy who touts this team, is not signed yet, how are you going to recruit people to come to this team? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like upper echelon guys, because it kind of feels that's another point to like kind of not don't lowball the guy who you want to put up as the face of the franchise, because you want to make it seem like this is the place to be, not a place where we kind of nickel and dime you and just want you on the fringe making with hometown discounts and maybe 3 to 5% less than you could be getting somewhere else.
Yeah, there's definitely a part of the conversation like you're bringing up that I think people do miss, and it's that very piece of like winning this negotiation. And sure, we'd all love that money, but winning this negotiation over Larkin significantly, which is where I think most people are landing, is significantly winning that negotiation. Steve winning, us having more money to spend elsewhere, but you have just defined the culture of the team, whether you want to say it's positive or negative. I mean, the next contract that comes in, your next biggest contracts, similar conversations are going to be Sider and Raymond. And then where does this go? They know they're walking into a buzzsaw with Steve Yzerman. How exciting. So glad he's my GM. You know what I mean? Does that help
just
the
for
campaigning?
Just for giggles, like as far as a team with some sort of infrastructure where it felt like, okay, Boston's gonna have a down year, and then the whole team's just mega. I don't know if we want to necessarily say they're all super duper outperforming, but they're playing really well, right? Goaltending, defense, scoring. I mean, what's to say that Larkin doesn't want to be part of that? And I mean, if this team, like Boston's opening up, a couple of cap slots, what? Let me get the number for you so I'm not guessing. I know they don't make a lot, combined, Patrice and Krejci, they're what, like $3.5 million, but this team's going to have like $21 million open.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty much have their whole, they're going to have a goaltender. They're going to have their whole like top 6 defenders. And then they just have to, fill out some forward spots if they splurged on Larkin, but it's not completely outside the realm of possibility, is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, if you want to talk about a guy who's trying to like, I'm the captain of the Bruins, and I hope that Pasta takes a discount for these Boston Bruin fans, and he took $2.5 million, and he's still turning in a damn good season this year at, what is he, 37 or 38 or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one always, like, that's the reminder where you're like, oh right, that's why Boston can afford to put this team together. You've got your first line center making $2.5 million. Any hoozles. Where were we? Oh, we haven't looked at a single comment today, so I want to back up a little bit.
Yeah, let's get a few of those in there. I know we get so excited with free agency, but yeah.
Well, yeah, it's just all this stuff with Larkin. I feel like I just let out like 2 weeks of like reading Twitter and holding back on arguing with people who are just so adamant the best thing for this team is to underpay your captain, or if they think pay him at what he is most deserved of. That's fine.
I don't understand the appeal of this frugality. You need to make this look like a destination,
Yeah,
I don't know why you want to be. I don't know why you just want to be the Bobs from Office Space. Like we can't just keep nickel and I'm good with people. I have people skills, and then we're just cutting everybody left and right. Like,
right?
No, we need to sign people, man. We need to feel like a destination, and we're not going to get it with our temperature. We're not going to get it with the Detroit Zoo, because now you can go to the Toledo Zoo. I was just at Little Caesars Arena. Toledo Zoo ads all over. So we need something. And it's going to have to be money.
So just getting off topic of Larkin, The Wings did come back and play last night, and we lost 5-2. We did a pretty good job handling Connor McJesus. I have a couple of topics based off of Dan B's comment here from about a half hour ago. Let us all pray.
Sorry, Dan.
That Connor McDavid is okay after that vicious interference by Rasmussen last night. 2 things, real quick, right off the bat. All-Star game, always a dud. PK Subban interviewing Connor McDavid before the game and asking him which nickname PK is supposed to call Connor McDavid for the rest of the season. PK did not follow through with that on the next ESPN broadcast. Connor McDavid just openly picking McJesus. I think McDavid's boring as hell, but fuck yeah, McJesus 100%. That guy knows how good he is, and he had no qualms about it. He's like, "What's my new nickname? It's McJesus." Like, obviously, he didn't come up with that. It's been going around for a while, but good for Connor for
I
landing
like that he
that
kind
one.
of sold it like Pulp Fiction and Mrs. Mia Wallace. Like, just call me McJesus. Next question.
Part 2 of this for Dan B bringing this up. Mike, are we still allowed to complain about the referees as Red Wings fans? Like, one of the big Red Wings accounts, I think it's like Red Wings Die Hard, said, we have to there's bad officiating across every sport. You can't just lean on that. But I mean, this last night seemed to be particularly atrocious, and I leaned on the bad officiating. But I don't know, in your opinion, where do you land on that? Should I give my opinion? Or do you want to jump in there first?
I think it's easier to complain about the officiating when you're a good team, and we're not very good. So I feel like scratching and clawing at that excuse. I mean, there's going to be usually bad calls on either side where I'll kind of, you'll kind of make like a cringy face, like, "Oh, can't believe we got away with that one." Oh, little elbow to the right to the mush, kind of thing. So was the Rasmussen call kind of rough? Yeah, it was a little rough. Kind of hard to defend. But I'm not ready to focus on that. I wish we would worry more about the team construct than the refereeing.
Yeah, I guess to my point is we want to feel like these games matter, and it's like then the conversation is, yeah, but I could get mad about the officiating, but I'm actually wasting my time watching these games because this team wasn't going to win. That's a hard pill to swallow. That's a big one. So I feel like I'm trying to stay away from that. But to Ken's point here, I guess I'm answering him. What a shame that we talk more about salary than we do about the game. And it is a shame. Maybe Ken agrees with us that we should talk more about salary. He's not necessarily saying that's a negative part of this. It's more the reality. But of course, that's where we live. So that's kind of the two schools of thought we're talking about with this.
Yeah, I kind of want him to expand on that. Does he mean he'd rather talk about the actual game by game Red Wings than salary, or that we talk more about fitting Larkin into our salary than about how he's playing? So yeah, I would kind of want him to unpack that a little bit.
I think he's talking about. It's too bad we're not talking about Red Wings hockey games instead of just building a future.
Well, but Ken, isn't that if that's it? I wish this team gave us a little more meat to chew on game wise, but it just feels like they're such a 500 average team, average or below average.
I don't think he's saying he wishes we'd talk about that 5-2 loss. I think he's just saying man, this sucks. But yeah, when you look at this roster and all the looking at Cap Friendly, we've got all these red and blue rectangles for every player here, and how much turnover we're gonna go through, over the next few seasons. And I think later on in the comments here, somebody makes mention that Cop is gonna end up being he has our longest contract, according to Cap Friendly,
and it's gonna feel really long
our reality. Yep. So everybody else is either getting our next conversations about everybody else here are going to be about their next contracts. Are they sticking around? So it's just ongoing. Who is a big waste? Feel like Mike, do you feel like the Robbie Fabry fun of him returning is already dissipated? That was a rough game last night for Fabry.
No, the honeymoon is not over yet, Matt.
Okay.
He's still right in the fracas. I think I just made up a word. He's right in the play. Right or wrong, there he is. You might be out there for a goal, or a turnover, but by God, he's out there. Look at him go. I
Yeah,
mean,
and Andrew Kopp, who will be who has our longest contract right now. I don't know, longest active
at
contract.
least we did get
30.
Tuesday on the score sheet, right?
Tuesday was on the score sheet along with a
And
ton of turnovers.
the well, the other thing that stinks is we kind of touched on it in the old pregame. I mean, we still have a very large couple of contracts, very expensive contracts out in Beer City. Looking at you, Verana, at $5 million. Looking at you, Nedeljkovic, they're at $3 million. And usually pay these guys because you're expecting some sort of performance. So Fabry probably could have had a better game. Yeah. I just his role is, for me, he should be on the fourth line, third or fourth line. And this team is still doing what we don't want them to do, putting guys, above their skill. And until we kind of flesh out a top six, I mean, you're going to have games like this against the super skilled teams.
So Jim Johnson
where you get blown out. You get blown out, and everybody looks like they don't belong on the ice. And then, Jim Johnson saying, if Verana is no longer a wing, try and trade him rather than a buyout. I don't think we can trade him. I mean, we gave him away for free, and nobody wanted to do that. So I think a trade would end up being, some other guy on a, big money contract that's either wildly underperforming or just not performing.
I mean, he's performing a lot better in Grand Rapids the last few games. I think he had
absolutely.
Yeah,
he
like
had
5 goals and
that one's just. I think we're just gonna have to buckle in and be patient.
Yeah, I think what Jim's referring to too is there's somebody online who's actually he does like Leafs coverage and with no real reference threw out there that Verana would not return to the NHL as a Detroit Red Wing. So I think that might be what Jim is referring to when he points that out. I would just again say that guy doesn't really have a reference from that. He's not an insider with the Red
it's like
Wings.
an unsourced
Thank you. Yeah. Not referenced, no source. And I would just say I'd remind everybody of that, but also, I mean, when you look at it from my perspective, they had a roster space for him. They certainly have the cap room for Verana. So Zadina got the call up. Zadina didn't even go right into the roster, right into the starting lineup. So Verana, I don't know. That speaks volumes to me, right? It'd be one thing if Zadina got called up and he goes right onto the roster, but he has to wait for someone to get hurt to get a spot. And even in practice today, Lalone was like, I'm not saying Zadina's got a spot on the lineup. What are you guys talking about? So it's rough. It looks rough for Verana right now. You have to believe anybody on this roster is being shopped right now, besides Sider and Raymond. Probably.
Yeah, I mean,
let's just put Sider on that list. I'm sure Steve would take any phone call right now.
Yeah, we've definitely seen Steve play the long game. Dylan Larkin can definitely attest to that. It's in more ways than one. Not just with this contract situation, but also like calling him a captain. And poor Berggren, the dancing bear himself, getting a cameo and then getting sent back down. So as far as this proving ground that I think a lot of us, sometimes find ourselves puzzled by what you have to do to, get a call up without even looking at the stats. I can almost guarantee Verana, with this little barrage of Grand Rapids goals, has more points than Zadina already. I can almost guarantee it without looking it up. But I feel like they're, I guess, waiting for him emotionally to, be ready to, travel with the team, something like that. And maybe they want to feel like they can give him every single day, 15 minutes of ice time where, Zadina, they're going to be comfortable saying, hey, you're just going to play every other game, maybe like 10 minutes on the fourth line. So maybe they're waiting to see him be productive and sustain, longer time on ice stats in Grand Rapids.
I got to shout out Irvine, who was thrown out there that comment to remember that Cop was now the longest signed Red Wing. That was 20 minutes ago, which means we're more than a half hour into this, which means we're well beyond an ad break. So we're going to reset here. We've kind of been all over the place. Let's see if we can land on a real topic when we get back. I'll look through the comments. Guys, check it out. We're sponsored by a new thing again. So this is going to be a long ad break. So we'll see you guys in a couple minutes. 4 NFL teams, 2 conference championship games, and only a few more shots to win big on the playoffs with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Counting down to Super Bowl 57, new customers can bet just $5 and get $200 in free bets instantly. Not a new customer? You could feel the conference championship thrills with stepped-up same-game parlays. Take your shot at an even bigger NFL payout and boost your winnings with each leg you add up to 100%. NFC, AFC championship games, guys. I know they're can't miss for me. You want to add a little more juice this weekend? You know what to do. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code THPN. New customers can bet $5 on the conference championships and get $200 in free bets instantly. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code THPN. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. This time of year, everyone's talking about making big changes. I think we've all gone through either that commitment or we've given up. Most of the time, it's pretty unrealistic for that reason. For myself, I've been trying to lose weight. That comes along with doing some exercise, but it's just so goddamn cold. So what I've decided to do is get into some audiobooks instead.
Really exciting time here, it's
a lot easier to do.
Just waiting
and if I want that crisp, clean audio, I found the way to do it. The smallest changes in your routine can make the biggest impacts. You guys listen up. In the same way, you don't have to break the bank to make a big deal purchase. Even the smallest things can be a part of a big change if it's something to use every day. So when I'm making those small changes and reading books, or I'm sorry, doing audiobooks, wink, wink, nod, nod, I like my Raycons. Raycon is a premium audio that's perfect price point so you could build great habits without breaking the bank. Gross. I just pulled in a huge booger, but that's because I'm just so happy and satisfied with life right now because I've been making those small changes by having those audiobooks get me through the day. And I do it with my Raycons. Whether you're looking for a pair of everyday earbuds, low latency gaming headphones, or a speaker with a battery that will last all night at your next party, Raycon's got you covered. Yep, Raycons start at half the price of the premium audio brands. So you don't have to choose between products. You can get one of each, or a pair and a spare, and still pay less than you would with some of the other guys. I actually have the speaker myself. I have the earbuds. Speaker, super fun if I'm listening to a movie or something during work or just in my free time. Connect the speaker anywhere. Earbuds, like I said, out and about. I'm ready to go. I like, you got your customizable sound profiles, the earbud tap functions. That's pretty nice, actually, to just get that volume going, especially if you're just laying in bed, listening to a podcast or a book. Just tap away. Left ear, right ear, gets you going. And, of course, the crystal clear call quality is fantastic while you're in the middle of those audiobooks or those podcasts. Comes right through. Water and sweat resistant. Hey, for all my sweaty boys out there, we got you. Ready to buy something small with big impact? Go to buyraycon.com/THPN today to get 15% off your Raycon order. That's buyraycon.com/THPN to score 15% off. That's buyraycon.com/THPN. All right. We are back. I had Mike muted because like he jumped in and was just like, yeah, there's no ad. And I was thinking like, yeah, there is. I totally hear it. So I don't know what happened with Mike, but he hates it when I break the fourth wall.
Oh, nobody likes how the sausage is made. We just like the sausage.
Everybody likes the sausage, seeing it go through that little tube and you pull out the intestine looking thing.
It is an intestine, actually. Fun fact.
Not always.
Always.
No.
When you request it. For fun, just for funsies, he's only played 2 games, Zadina, because of boo-boos. Um, Nothing. 1 goal. And, my boy, he's putting up, he's got 9 points now in 15 games. So, Verana. So I was right without looking it up that Zadina didn't do anything, but just saying.
Didn't he get 1 goal in did you say he played 2 games in Grand Rapids? Because I thought it was 1 goal in his first game and then he got called back.
Yeah, he only played 2 games. Yeah.
That's fine. That's
That's
good.
great.
Coming off an injury,
He's
leave him
awesome.
alone.
Yeah.
My
First line
point,
with Larkin.
my point wasn't that I wasn't trying to make the argument that Verana should get called up before Zadina.
He should get the A.
My point was
Alternate
that
captain
they did
Zadina.
pick. Oh my fucking god! I'm gonna mute here. I'm gonna mute you. My point was that they called up Zadina. No
Unmute.
question. Oh no, you can unmute yourself. God damn it. They called up Zadina, no question, like right away, and they didn't even put him in the lineup. So my point was just how far away are we from seeing Verana? Of course, I would rather see Verana than Zadina in this lineup. I think it's real cute. Everybody's online. Like, I'm not giving up on Zadina. Okay, fine. Don't. I think there's more value in Verana than Zadina right now. Put Verana in there. What did Jim say? Verana could certainly help our power play. Yeah, all those hitting the posts. Yeah, a guy that just whips it at the net and it finds its way, no matter what's going on. I mean, we even saw like one of Verana's goals was one of those crazy ones where the goalie lost control of it and Verana was able to put it in the back of the net. This guy just is a magnet for pucks, and whatever's going on, the magic on his stick, it's always going to hit the back of the net. And you know what? That wasn't even just last night. It feels like every night we're doing 3 or 4 should not even be close sort of posts. How about was that post last night? Was that Fabry after I was already calling out like I thought he had a terrible game? Was he the one that missed that one right out?
They call him, of the Avengers, he's the Iron Man because he's always hitting the posts.
I just
no, too soon. Okay.
No, I'm just.
You're not ready to forgive him.
I'm just frustrated with some of the decisions. I don't know.
I did find
things that the longer we go without hearing what the plan is, which I get it, we're not owed that, but the longer we start to question what the hell's going on, and we keep seeing Verana score in Grand Rapids and him not get called up, I don't know. I'm still not thrilled with like what happened over the off season. I just at some point we're gonna keep not getting answers, and I mean by the looks of things, the record's pretty similar to what it was last year. Team's better. We're supposed to have a better coach right now. It's just frustrating as fuck. Like, what are you supposed to think as a Red Wings fan besides, just telling yourself, like, it's Steve Yzerman. Give him more time. It's like, okay, more time. Here you go. Let me keep spending every night watching Red Wings games. It's exhausting. Like I don't know. I want something. I'm getting frustrated. We got frustrated last season too, Mike, with who was getting called up and who wasn't. And you know what? Like, the Verana thing bothers me. Like, that wasn't my point earlier, but yeah, for sure. I would much rather have Verana up than Zadina. And we all know that, like Jim said, that could help our power play. There's issues with this team that get solved with a guy like Verana.
And I mean, just a few comments coming into Dan B thrown in there. Verana won't ever play in Detroit again. Accept it and move on. Jim Johnson throwing in. We have no idea what is going on behind the scenes with Verana and Wings management. I'm not as broken emotionally. I still think that he's going to come back to Detroit. I I think it's all about what kind of role they want him to have. Again, I mean, Zadina, they're going to be asking him to be on the fourth line. Play like, God, I said double-digit minutes. My God, he could be playing 8 to 10 minutes just to give people a blow on the bench. Where Verana, they're going to have an actual job for him to do. Like, dude, we need you on the power play. We're going to need you on special teams, and then we're going to need you on 5-on-5 play because you're one of those few special electric talents that we don't have a lot of on this earth. So there's not a lot of people with that kind of whip on their shot. So please, just get yourself figured out, get comfortable. And I feel like to an extent, it's maybe not even, because it's going to come from two parties, right? Where, Zadina, they're going to be like, Zadina, you healthy enough? Yeah. All right. Can you play 8 to 10 minutes? So roll his eyes. Yes, of course. But Verana, I feel like they're going to be like, hey, looks like some goals are going in. You're starting to feel like you're ready to come back a little bit. And, as far as we know, this isn't really like a physical ailment that held him back. It was, something tougher to talk about and describe. So maybe he's just not sent up because he's not comfortable with it yet. Maybe he still wants to hit that one threshold where he feels like, okay, now I feel like I'm ready to handle myself in the league. So I'm not quite as crestfallen. I don't think it's quite as bleak as giving up on the guy. I think maybe he just needs to feel ready, and if that takes a couple more weeks, I still think that's something that could feasibly be in the Red Wings' future. So I'm not giving up hope. I think it might have a little bit to do with his input. Maybe he just needs a little more time.
All right, I did see a call out. Tristan wants us to take a look at his comments here. All right.
A Tristan trade proposal. Choo choo choo.
Sauce this sucker up here too. Tyler Bertuzzi card from J Fresh. Look at that! Look at that number plummet. Still an 81% projected WAR, and of course his tidy poo-poo numbers are just over a couple of games, so that's how he's still 81% projected WAR. Of course, Tyler Bertuzzi's who we're talking about. Tristan sent Tyler over to Dallas, retained 50% of the salary. Oh man, I have so much snot in the back of my throat. Gary Onoff and a 2024 first-round pick. Tristan throws out there, I think it's reasonable, especially considering what Hagel got last year. Oh, wait. That wasn't what I wanted to pull up. I encourage everyone to go watch Gary Onoff highlights. Guy could easily hit 40 goals, especially since he has a spot on the power play. Opposite circle of Ovi with a deadly one-timer. Okay. I was going to pull up this Bo Horvat trade and ask everybody, like, I was gonna use it in two different ways, but I think we could all agree, like, if this was the return we got for Dylan Larkin, I think we'd all be kind of sad. But I was gonna put out there, like, what could we do to, like, get this kind of return for Tyler Bertuzzi? But I think that's what Tristan's coming up with here is a first round pick and a Gary Onoff that could adds potential back into this lineup. Not anything that's a sure thing. By any means, but that's your Atu Ratu, right? I think a little extra potential in there for Tyler, who for all intents and purposes, I watched him in that interview last night for ESPN. I listened to his voice. I don't hear a guy that's excited to be around the Red Wings anymore. And that might be something where he knows his time is coming. And ESPN seemed to think he was out the door. So I don't hate this. I think I saw another trade out there too, but I want to pull up the Bertuzzi player card again. Jim was just thrown out there. Let's send Bert and Zadina together in a package trade. Yeah, like I'm ready to let go of Bertuzzi. I don't know. The turnover machine could be because of he's not able to get into a good rhythm. He's been injured all season. Injuries have plagued him a bit over the career.
By the way, to kind of volley against that sentiment, Craig McDonald coming in hot. saying you guys need to take a chill pill. They are on track for preseason expectations with all the injuries. They are still playing competitive hockey. So I think Craig kind of also taking the wait and see approach. Um, it's we talked about it. Those few glimmers where we actually had everybody on the ice and it seemed like, hey, this team's almost got like 3 or 4 scoring lines. When we had the Redwoods and we still had Verana. Those were really sexy times, Craig. It's just it's getting harder and harder to this is not the first time that we've had Verana and had to wait a long time to actually see him play, and the same thing with Bertuzzi. So it's a little bit like if you want this to continue to be part of your future, there's always that potential of, man, if these guys were healthy, and then the reality is that possible? Are their bodies going to cooperate with them? And so far, we just don't have the evidence yet.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things too. Like, if I could come back to listening to Tyler Bertuzzi talk, I kind of just see a guy that's headed out the door. And I can't imagine us getting. I saw some comments earlier. I think Chewy was throwing out there $5 million. Like, even to that end, I see Tyler as an opportunity to upgrade and at some point. I don't know. I think we've been saying it for a little bit here. We kind of pulled back because I hate getting the comments on the YouTube videos about how Tyler's going to be the difference maker when we make it to the playoffs. Gosh, he's a part of the current core, sure. He just never was a part of my long-term core for this team, and that core that would have been taking us to the Stanley Cup Finals. So I'm trading him away because it makes sense age-wise for me, if anybody wanted him. The only thing is, at this point, with him being injured all year, I don't know if what ESPN did last night to kind of get everybody all juiced up for Tyler Bertuzzi and talking about I don't know, what did Shelley say? He's greasy on the ice.
I missed that comment.
Yeah, I thought for sure that Tyler looked a little greasy during that interview, but I don't know.
Well, I think the other thing too to keep in mind with I love off-season stuff. I love free agency. I love trade proposals. The only thing is, it feels like the Red Wings are going to lose all of these trades because a lot of these guys you're going to have to sell low because Bertuzzi is underperforming and he's hurt. Verana has been underperforming and he's hurt. Zadina has been underperforming and hurt. If you want to throw in Nedeljkovic magically, also underperforming and also was hurt. So I bundling more
I would put
guys
in the underperforming.
I mean, didn't perform. How about that?
Okay.
That's what's really going to be tough is you're going to have to lose some of these trades. I feel like it's going to be really tough to sell it to another team. Hey, how about you give me 2 firsts, or give me an actual real prospect for a guy who you're renting. In this case, maybe with Bertuzzi. And he's not really got any production to speak of. So you're just crossing your fingers that, hey, he's going to be, 27, 28, 29 coming up. So, maybe I can strike oil with this guy and he stays on the ice. It's going to be a tough sell for Yzerman, the negotiator.
Dad be thrown out there. The season hasn't gone to plan, but removing 50 goals from the lineup, Verana and Bertuzzi, what can you expect? Over the All-Star break, Bertuzzi stayed in Detroit, skated every day. Guy's a character guy. Yeah. I think there's a lot of character out in the NHL for that type of player. I don't know. There were some choices, God, I'm going to get in trouble, that could have made Tyler more of a team player that he didn't make. So I just, there's things we've seen from the Burt man, and the contract's going to be tough. If it's affordable, I'm not turning away from the man, but I am most certainly answering those phone calls when you get the text 2 minutes before that says I got a I got a
I
hot
do.
Tuesday deal for you.
Yeah, I do want to jump on one comment from Jim Johnson saying Bert, if signed by Wings, will be a 2 to 3 year deal, no more than that. Um, Jim, I got to say that in some universe, that's like Eiserman's dream. Is that his guys just underperform enough that he can say, "Listen, how about we give you a couple of years, to prove it," and then he never has to actually like cash in and give him the big 8 year mortgage deals. So it's that I don't know if I would even hate that. If we signed Bird for like 2 years, maybe what 3 or 4 mil to let him figure it out, and please figure out how to do a contract season and be healthy when you're trying to earn a big long term contract, instead of doing what you're doing this season and making it tough for everybody, management, yourself, and your agent.
Yeah, I was trying to pull up the highlight too from last night, but I've decided it's not fair. I was going to call out two tremendous plays kind of led to that goal for Bertuzzi, and I just, we've been talking the last couple of seasons now how that top line, if we get a fully healthy lineup, the top line performs pretty well. But I don't know if it's been like who do we pin in there as the guy who absolutely needs to stick around? I guess it would be cool to say you have a top line guy like Bertuzzi who is making 5 mil or less. Um, that's fun. That gives you a lot of opportunity to pay guys later. But I don't know. That also says a lot about what he's been able to do production wise. And hey, when that shooting percentage is at 50%, like it was at the start of last season, yeah, he looks like he's unstoppable. But when he comes back down to earth, I don't know. It's just like he can carry a full game, no problem. We saw it like a couple of times with him last year
In
against the
person.
Lightning, putting in like 4 goals, right?
Yeah, in
4 goals
person.
or a hat trick against the Lightning.
He had 4 goals. Yeah.
But you know, it's just a little bit. You know what I mean? Like it's not.
Well, that's
God
what
damn it!
that's
It's
what the
not.
problem is here. This is all potential. We just haven't seen it completely regularly, uh, you know, occur every single game. The consistency is the problem, and that's
Yeah,
that's why it's so tough for Eiserman's job managing this cap.
yeah. I just like ZW points out here that Bert's a junkyard dog. I don't look up and down this
I think
roster and think,
I
man, this
I
guy's really soft. I think it's funny too that a lot of people call out the Red Wings need more grit. I think what happens is that they just play the puck so goddamn hard on all four lines that these other teams put us in these situations where we're young and we make dumb mistakes. But
can I
I
ask
mean,
something
even
about
Lucas
that when we're talking
Raymond.
about guys being tough? When
Well, I just want to throw out there like even tiny little Lucas Raymond like goes into the boards and wins puck battles all the time. Like I think it's a culture right now for the Detroit Red Wings that you have 18 guys that are junkyard dogs. Some of them suck at it, like Jordan Osterley, who's just throwing the puck willy nilly to Connor McDavid last night, no problem. But that's just because we don't have the talent there. But they're at least building a culture of junkyard dogs.
I no, all I wanted to say was we were so excited for this lineup, and Lalone started. He kind of made the play a little bit more up and down, but then defensively he started really pushing the. Hey, let's all block as many shots as we can, and then a third of the lineup was out with injured wrists and shin bones and taking pucks off their bodies. And then our defense started to slip a little bit because I was like, hey, let's ease the brakes. Let's maybe stop letting the puck take our players out for 4 to 6 weeks. Um, so do you think that evolution from Lalone has kind of led to, he's kind of figuring it out on the fly as far as putting his players, right in front of live bullets. How that's literally impacted our our win-loss record, and it's impacted guys trying to get contracts. Do you think that he has some blame in this?
I don't want to call it blame. Um,
It
But
works for a game when they were still healthy enough to take the live bullets, but then when they were all on the injured list, that's when it's getting a little dicey.
I mean, it's a culture and mentality that got the Lightning a couple of pucks along with world class talent in the top six. So yeah, you got to start building that culture, that style at some point, and build it when you've got guys who can take those bullets. I did like Tristan threw out there after Dan B said Bert's probably at a second round right now, second round pick for return. Bert still has higher value according to Tristan, and I like the point of what Ben Sherratt fetched last year from the Florida Panthers, and you wonder if they're second guessing themselves at all after last year they probably had one of the best lineups we've seen for four forward lines in so many years, and it's not going so great this year. But to Tristan's point, yeah, GMs make really dumb mistakes at the trade deadline.
Yeah, let's say that he is valued, at a first round pick, but not by like regular people. I don't even think the NHL video game would take a first rounder for Sherratt. They'd be like, hell no, that's terrible value.
I would come back to Toronto's got a first round pick to throw around, and they absolutely have to use it because I think Kyle Dubas's contract is up. That's the kind of move that Toronto has to make, like to get, like I said, I have no problem with what ZW said that Tyler's a junkyard dog. I was just saying, like, yes, and we also have another 17 other guys who could get that title, whatever. Maybe not. I don't know. There's a couple of guys. I think Kubalik does a good job of using that little bit of extra size. Rasmussen definitely. Kopp has definitely started to turn into a junkyard dog, even though he turned in a sub 40% expected goals for percentage last night. I know. I'm telling you, the numbers aren't there. All right. Anyway. If Toronto makes that move for Tyler Bertuzzi, that is not only going to be a pretty good move for Toronto.
I thought you were going to say it was the most Toronto move ever.
I don't hate it. I don't hate Tyler Bertuzzi. My argument
it's all hope and wishes with no payoff.
My argument for getting rid of him, I can't say this enough. It's just like that interview last night on ESPN. Either he just can't stand talking to Messier and Chelly, or he's just tapped out. Maybe it's just on this season and I'm completely misjudging, but that definitely feels like a contract negotiation that I don't know. Like, isn't there a reason that we're only talking about Dylan Larkin? Or most of the time we're talking about Dylan Larkin. But anyway, let me finish my goddamn point. If Toronto makes that move to trade for Bertuzzi,
I like that you had to cut yourself off from your own point.
Yeah. I saw. Stop. I keep explaining myself because of your faces, so I'm spinning my own web as we speak because you're giving me.
I thought you were going to say you're spinning your tires in your own mud hole. But go ahead.
That's probably.
Go ahead and stop yourself dry, Stone Cold. Yeah.
Fuck. Oh my god. Oh right. Goddamn, I'm finally gonna get it out. It'd be a hell of a PR move for Toronto too, because all their fans have been begging for Tyler Bertuzzi for the last 2 years. So I think you killed two birds there with a Tyler Bertuzzi to Toronto trade. I think that legit does help Toronto, even though they, I don't know. I shouldn't say they need defense because they never score in the playoffs. So yeah, give him a player who's been learning under Lalone, at least attending practices, maybe not playing so many games this year, and has shown in the past, yeah, even without Lalone being the coach who's changing this culture, has been that ZW junkyard dog. But again, you get to make all those Toronto fans super happy.
I mean, what Toronto needs is David Perron. They don't need, Bertuzzi. They don't need, razzle dazzle and promise. They need a guy who's a grown up professional. He's going to push his teammates to be better. But I digress.
I wouldn't say both of those work. I wouldn't say one. Like, you're living in the black and white world, Mike. Come in the gray with me. They could both go to Toronto, and we can take a few extra picks.
A few more comments here, too. Jim Johnson thrown in. Bert's career will be short with the injuries. Basically, his style of play kind of leads to more of those. It certainly feels that way, Jim. Man, it's so many empty promises with this team with guys that we really wanted to pan out, and they just haven't done it yet.
We're at an hour, but I did have a rather interesting.
Oh yeah, we'll throw that in there. We can close up shop. We just kind of had withdrawals because we had we were under the weather last week, and so yeah, we'll get this in there.
I mean, this was my last. I wanted to pull up Prashant Iyer's Twitter account because he shared some fun stuff earlier today.
Okay.
And then I just wanted to throw this into the trade conversation. So some folks might already know what I'm talking about. Top 5 defensemen and expected goals above replacement per 60, minimum 500 minutes played. Number 1, Adam Fox, who's leading the way. Oh, it's not up. Number 1, leading the way in like mid-season voting and all the fake votes for the Norris. Number 2, Mr. Jake Wallman. Of course, number 3, Erik Karlsson, who's also at the top of those Norris votes. Nick Seeler from Philly. And Jared Spurgeon from Minnesota. So at least we have the proof that this stat means something with Karlsson and Adam Fox at the top there.
Thank God. I hate when these pull out these stats and it's like 6 other Wallmans. You know what I mean? So yeah. I'm glad there's some legit superstars up there.
When you say 6 other Wallmans, though, Jake has absolutely destroyed the analytics test and the eyeball test.
We're not talking about this magical career season. I mean, like, where did Jake Wallman come from? Like, you don't want to be that stat. So being up there with Fox and Karlsson, we're good. We're good.
Do you hang on to Jake Wallman, or do you probably get the best trade you're going to get out of Jake Wallman?
Woo! See, who bring up our comments again, because somebody made me think about. I want to answer your question. I think it was Tristan saying that Bertuzzi would still fetch a first rounder. I think he's absolutely right about that. Some dumb team would still give up multiple firsts for Bertuzzi. But for some reason, I bet.
No.
All right, we'll say, can you concede first and maybe another, like a second? Doesn't matter. The point is, Wallman, having this magical prove-it season, would still probably only fetch like a third rounder somehow.
No.
Well, he only did it once. There's something about him. Something about his name. There's no Z's in it. They'll probably think he's hit a wall. Man, like statistically, like that's as good as it gets. I could see a scenario where he doesn't fetch as much as Bertuzzi.
I guess it depends on the market. So I don't really know how many defensemen are going to be available. I guess none of us do. But I mean, if it comes down to it, and these teams can see that he's having success as a first pair defenseman with Moritz Seider, and it's not just the Moritz Seider effect, because
we saw Sherratt.
Brent Sherratt ruined that. So it's not just as simple as that. But Wallman clearly is taking advantage of that time he's playing with Seider, putting some amazing looking shots on net. That play that they set up for Wallman where he gets it from the point and comes in with that shot that rips it between the circles, just looks beautiful. And the guy has pulled it off so many times so far this season. I just could be something. I guess it depends on how far away you think we are from winning. If it feels like Larkin's not going to sign and you've really got to hit the reset button here, then yeah, you got to trade away Larkin. You got to trade away Bertuzzi. Like if Larkin went into a meeting with Yzerman, he's like, you know what? I'm done. I'm just not doing this. Then yeah, you trade away all these guys. But you're bringing Larkin back. Like if in the back of Yzerman's mind, he's like, I'm just fucking around with him. I'm going to give him that contract.
Is this?
Then you sign Jake too. But go ahead.
No, as far as like, trade scenarios, and dealing him would be dealing from a position of strength, right? Because in the wings, you've still got Edvinsson, who's a left defenseman. Sabrango, Vero, Johansson. I know there's still some Jared McKissick fetishists out there looking at you, Tristan. So I mean, you'd be dealing from a position of strength. So I mean, if you can get a first and a prospect, woo! I think you might have to jump all over that. And Jim Johnson, right on the same page, my man, saying Edmondson will be up next year for sure and be paired in the top 4. And it's not like, we couldn't use depth, but my God, if we have extra left side defensemen, maybe trade Wallman while he's hot.
It's worth taking a look at like the Scott Wheeler and Corey Pronman rankings right now, because I think they are painting a more accurate picture where the Sabrangos, McIsaacs are not necessarily like, they still rank these guys like 1 to 15, but they're like, this guy's gonna be pretty good in Grand Rapids for the rest of his career. So I think you're looking at Albert Johansson and Edmondson for sure. Edmondson for sure getting his for real shot next season. He's in the lineup. He's in the top 4, just like Jim throws out there. Albert's gonna have a chance to win a role. I think we know, like looking at this lineup from top to bottom, there's no doubt in my mind that he's an upgrade over what we're throwing out there right now. But that still leaves a left side defenseman, and
I just, we talked about losing a lot of these trades because these guys haven't been on the ice to prove their worth. And Wallman, I think you could actually win that trade. UFA, he's only had one super duper magical season, and I think this might be a guy you have to cash in on.
Well, it's just like that comes back to that conversation. Do you think we're a couple moves away? Next season, can we make enough moves? Are we bringing up enough guys? Is Sider and Raymond taking that big step forward?
We have a glut of mediocrity. We need superstars.
So you are trading away Jake Wallman. I'm signing him. That was my thing. I don't know if I officially made that.
I think we could get a pretty sexy return for that guy.
Gary throws out too. Don't forget about William Vollander, who's probably
Gary. Hell of a thumbnail photo, man.
Yeah, nice. Two seasons, I think. Not this upcoming season. You know what? Upcoming season probably has a shot. He'll probably be in North America coming over from Rogel. But for sure in 2 seasons, I think that's where you see Wallander landing, another left side defenseman. Yeah, I think if we were talking about a right side defenseman, so it seemed to be tough to find. I think Wallman has that contract has already been signed. But I don't know. It's just I'm going to land in the spot where I'm frustrated this season. I think there's some opportunity to upgrade this team, and I do trust the pool of prospects to help upgrade this team. So,
quick follow-up while it's still fresh in our minds. Gary saying, that photo was 43 years ago. That was a sharp look, man. Yeah,
I like it.
Welcome.
Gary's been on. He's been on before. He's been in the chat. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's time we wrap up because I keep saying I don't know. I'm getting sad and.
We're inching closer to that trade deadline.
Are you trading Wallman? Is that what you're saying?
I would, just because we do have more left defensemen coming up, and we got to win one of these trades. And he's coming in hot in a contract season. These are the guys you're supposed to move if you're not a real playoff cup contender.
You know what? To your point, if we find out,
and Dan B, we'll see you, bud.
If we find out that it's like 3rd round picks, I'm absolutely not trading him. I'll say that. I'm hanging up.
All right.
Oh my God. You're gonna trade. All right, that's fine.
I'm just saying that's what I was saying earlier. That these GMs would look at Bertuzzi's name and be like, oh yeah, 1st and 2nd and a prospect, and then look at Wallman, and then just do like a 3rd rounder.
I don't agree, but we will agree to disagree, and we'll sail off into the sunset. Guys, thanks for coming along. Hit that like button. Subscribe, rate, review on Apple Podcasts, all that fun stuff. And of course, check out Raycon at buyraycon.com/THPN if you guys want to support the show. And I wasn't kidding. Oh, you know what? I played the wrong DraftKings ad, but there's huge Super Bowl deals, and I played the conference championship one. So hopefully none of you noticed, but go to DraftKings and use promo code THPN. All right. See you guys.